Hello, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder of the Bobby White Foundation, and I'm here along with, of course, my wonderful co-host.
Hi, good morning or afternoon. It's afternoon.
It's afternoon.
It is
we
afternoon.
changed everything.
We
so.
do. I'm Bonnie Snyder. Welcome.
Who am I today?
I know. I'm somebody today. It's not sure who.
We want to welcome you again, and we really appreciate you turning in and listening to us. A lot of times what we talk about isn't a lot of fun, but we feel it's necessary, to help others and let people know that, they're not going through this alone. There's others out there going through it with you, and there's people that are out there that are willing to help, whether it be somebody that you know or even a perfect stranger. So of course we want to thank John and Rob, and I have to say, we have to say the boys too, because they do help out too. So, anyways, John and Rob, thanks, and again, we wouldn't be here without their support. And speaking of support, you can help support us in so many ways. And we just added a new one. Here's the new T-shirt.
Yes, I love the new design.
I do too.
I really do. And they are so comfortable.
And of course, it has the foundation logo on the back, and it's kind of a little bit more reminiscent. This one here, the first one, is kind of geared towards our Purple Folders, which is our first program that we put together for the foundation to hand out to suicide loss survivors. And then this is our second design. And the reason that we decided to do more than one design is because when we were working on the design for the show logo, I think we had like 4 logos that were all tied. I mean, they all 4 got the same number of votes, but we went with the one that works best for TV. Mm-hmm. So then it was like, well, why don't we just make T-shirts?
Exactly.
Everybody wears T-shirts. So yeah, these are the new ones, and I really like them. So we'll have a nice collection of T-shirts for you to choose from. And I talked to Leela at Gulfside T-shirts, and on the website there, pretty soon we're going to start offering different colors. Mm-hmm. She's going to go through the color selection to see which works best with each shirt. And I had mentioned that, possibly with the hands, that a turquoise T-shirt would be nice, turquoise and purple.
Because of the colors, yes.
For suicide loss, for suicide prevention. So that's being worked on. And then, of course, we have our Kindness webpage where you can donate towards the foundation and the show, and you can pick any amount that you feel comfortable with. You can just click on that QR code there in the lower right-hand corner, and it'll take you directly to the page. If there's not an amount on the page, I put a lot on there, but if there's not an amount that you're comfortable with on there, at the very bottom you can put in whatever you're comfortable with, and every little bit helps. It really does. So that's another way. My brain is like really slow today. And we also were doing our Art for Hope virtual, which is running from September 1st to November 20th, which September is Suicide Prevention Month. November 20th is Suicide Loss Survivors Day. So our first pop-up event, Rob just had it up there on the screen, is our Painting with a Purpose through Painting with a Twist Trinity. And you can go, we have several different ways that you can sign up for that. Either you can go straight to Painting with a Twist Trinity, and it's on their calendar. Bobby White Foundation Facebook events page. I think it's on the Art for Hope events page, and it's also on the foundation new website. Gotcha. Under Art for Hope, the new page for that. So, and you can either participate at the Trinity location or here at the studio, and we'll be doing it, what do you call it,
Simultaneously.
through Zoom or some platform like that. Or you can get a bunch of friends together at home and do it at home and do it along with us. But the good thing about it is the image that we picked out has a video. So you'll receive a video, I think via email, and you can paint the image at your leisure whenever you want. So, and we picked that image for the symbolism. And a lot of people think it's this spiritual being of whoever you may have lost. We talked about it a lot. We've had experiences with dragonflies a lot. And it also means hope, love, and change, I think. I believe that's how it goes, hope, love, and change. And that's what we all go through with this experience.
It is. Speaking of artwork, remember, several episodes back, we had that one painting, Hope Rains Down.
Right.
And I don't know if I took a picture of it, but if you remember, I set through a challenge down on the shelf. Nobody else gets it. Nobody outbids me. It's coming home with me. And I actually got it put up. I did put it up this weekend. Yeah, I put it up this weekend. I made Greg put it up. It's my friend Greg. I was like, he's taller than I am. Hey, he's like, what can I do for you? Funny you should ask me that. Put this picture up for me. Yeah, it's hanging, and I was like, I've got to take a picture and send it to Tammy.
Take a
and let her
picture
see.
and get it to me so
I
we can
will.
get it up there.
I absolutely. I love that picture, and so as I'm looking at the events coming up, the neon dragonfly is going to go on the other wall, of my house. It's like, and maybe I'll take a picture of it, but in my living room has a pot shelf. And on the pot shelf, I've rearranged it a little bit, but, I have the urn with Patrick's, ashes in it, and the flower arrangement that was, on the casket, and then some of his most prized possessions, it's a domino set and his cologne and other stuff. But he has this picture of a wave, and I think I may have talked about this wave, before, but it's a picture of a wave. And I thought it was fitting to move it from where we had it hanging in the living room when he was here to, it's behind, the urn and everything to where it is. And, for me, that particular picture has some symbolism in it. Because another friend of mine, Art, it's funny, Art for Hope. But whenever I'm feeling down and I, post something to, my Facebook page or, social media, Art always tells me, the one thing about waves when they come in is learning how to surf. And, for me, that particular saying has become so symbolic for me on this journey because, if you think about, what we're going through, this thing is a bit, this journey is about, ebbs and flows and the waves that come in. And sometimes the waves are a little bit bigger than others. And, so it's learning how to surf. So having this picture of this big wave behind Patrick, it's like, it makes perfect sense. There's the painting. Yes, there is the painting. And what's interesting about this is I had it hanging, like this. And for some reason, I decided to hang it upside down where the blue is on the bottom.
Oh, really?
Instead of on the top. Because for me, it made it seemed to me like, because it was funny, and I know he's not going to shoot me for saying his name on the show. He'll get a kick out of it. But, when Greg hung it up for me, I'm looking at it, and I remember saying to him, did you hang that up right? And, he looks at me and he says, and I said, there's a sawtooth on it. Did you hang it up right? Like, did you notice that there was a sawtooth on the back? And he looked at me, he goes, yes, I purposely looked at this sawtooth, and I'm looking at it, and I was like, I want to, can you turn it upside down for me? Can you turn it the other way? And, so of course he climbs back on the ladder and he flipped it for me. Something, I don't know, it just seemed to me like having the blue on the bottom. And, a part of me is like, I want to reach out to the artist and tell her, like, I got your picture hanging upside down. Please don't take offense to it. But I just looked at it as the bottom blue was so serene that,
Kind of like the water pooling.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. That's
as soon as you said that, I was looking at it, and I'm like, that's kind of like the water pooling.
Right, and so it looked like this, waterfall coming down, and I'm, like I said, when he flipped it over for me, I'm looking at it, and I said that very same thing. I said it kind of looks like a waterfall to me now with, the pool at the bottom, and I said, but I know the picture's upside down.
Now you definitely have to take a picture of it. And send it.
Yes, I do. But,
And Carol Smith is she's a local artist who did this piece for us and donated it.
I would, I've never, met her before, but I would love to meet her and, let her know that this beautiful piece is hanging in my living room. And, it's like, but I hung it upside down. And this is why.
I'm sure she's not going to be offended.
You're an artist, as well. And I always find, when, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like I said, being an artist, when you guys, put your, express yourself in a piece of art and you give it to somebody, for me, there are some pieces that, absolutely are going, or have to be displayed in a certain way.
Right.
Because you see what the artist saw or what was your vision when you did that piece.
Well, and particularly if it's something that's more realism, more realistic.
Right. And with this piece, what I loved about it and why, like the first time I saw it, I was drawn to it, despite the fact that, blue is my favorite color and it was in, I'm looking at it and I was like, one, I got to have this piece. At the same time, much like this journey, the piece can be interpreted in so many ways. Like if you, hang it the way she painted it, it says one thing. If you, go backwards and flip it over, as I did, it says something else. But I also believe if you, hung it sideways, somebody else would
see something else.
See something different.
A lot of art is up for interpretation. It is. But that's, I never even really thought about that when I had it at the office. But now when you said that, it was totally like, yeah, that's.
It looks like everything's,
you definitely have to.
It's like, I saw it as the chaos of experiencing the loss and going through all those range of emotions and
everything
that kind of calmness afterwards, if there is such thing as calmness.
If you get there.
Right. And I mean, some people, you talk to, we always mention at the beginning of the show, that this is a difficult topic for some people. See, now there.
He turned it upside down. There you go.
This is why we love our production crew.
Rob this is great. Way to go, Rob.
I love Rob. So that's how I have it. That's not how she painted it, but that's how I have it hanging.
But yeah, totally. Huh. Yeah.
It just seemed to me to make sense that way.
Yeah, I like it both ways, but I never would have. I don't think I would have thought about turning it upside down, but I like it. I do.
I'm kind of strange like that. But yeah, like I said, I would love to meet her and look at her and say, tell me this. If you painted a piece of art, or did a piece of art and you gave it to me and you're like, it's supposed to be like this. And I look at you as the artist and say, I love the piece. I'm definitely getting it from you. But would you be offended if I displayed it like this? And some, like I said, I see it's like, I don't see it.
I wouldn't be, because I'd like to see and hear your interpretation of my art.
Yeah.
Because people see things differently. People go through what we're going through, go through the grief process differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, it makes total sense. I wish it was something I came up with.
And for me, I think if nothing else, I'm not sure if she watches the show or not, but it's Carol. If you are watching the show, like I said, I apologize for turning your picture upside down. But at the same time, I love the serenity. There's a little weirdness going on in the studio today.
I think it's our producer
It is.
making noise. Well, maybe I can see if I can get her on to do like a quick little segment, because when we're able to have our show in person, and depending on what happens next year, she's going to be one of the artists participating.
Gotcha.
So,
is it permissible to fuss at the boss?
is it the?
It is.
Can you see him out there?
I see him. I'm looking at him, and I'm not sure if you guys can hear it. One of the, we always said that this was unscripted and things were going to be like unpredictable.
I didn't know it was going to come from
the boss, the man.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys can hear it. One of the.
They might not be able to hear it, but we sure can.
We
but
do.
That's okay. That's why we do things the way we do it.
Exactly. The fun thing about moving into the new studio and putting the final touches on it, it's like.
Well, it has come such a long way since we first moved in.
Oh, I love the new studio.
And it is just great, and I'm sure that there's always going to be things to do, but and I do like the new front doors. I haven't been up there to see how they work or operate yet, but
yeah,
I like them. So
I'm a little So, guys, you have to forgive my distraction because I'm watching.
You can see him. I can't see him. There's a wall in the way.
I'm watching him, and I'm like, hey.
Oh, jeez.
We know.
Okay, let's get to our other events that we're going to participate in so that we can get to our book.
And it's interestingly that the chapter that we're going on is shame.
Shame.
And it's like, as we're looking at the boss go by, shame on you, boss. We can hear you drilling.
Okay, our Painting for the Purpose event is October 21st from 7 to 9, but like we said, you can, if you want to buy the kit, you can get it and do it anytime you want. Prior to that, we're going to be at a couple events supporting other organizations. The first one is, they're both on October 16th. Oh, I forgot my other paper. It is Stop Out Suicide, Recreate Your Mind, and it's at Withlacoochee River Park in Dade City. I think it starts at 8 o'clock from about 8 until noon. There's going to be a kids zone. There's going to be food vendors. There's going to be relaxation, I think, maybe some massage areas or yoga areas. This is put on by Pasco County Parks and Recreation. And so we're going to be out there with a table supporting them. New tablecloth came in the other day.
Nice.
Because we have two events.
Gotcha. And the thing about the walk-in with Withlacoochee, it's 8 o'clock starts the 5K.
Right.
9 o'clock starts the 1 mile.
The 1 mile
yes.
walk run.
Yes.
So, and it should be pretty nice. It shouldn't be too warm. And then, so we'll both be out there for that. And then pack up and head back to the west side to support the 2021 LMHC 5K. 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 2021 LMHC 5 red, white, and back the blue. And that's from 2 o'clock until 10 o'clock. You buy tickets online. I think the link is through PayPal. I'm not quite sure, and it's $10 in advance, and it's $15 the day of the event. And they do have I can't remember what the cutoff for free kids are. I think it's under 16, might be free, but you can check out their Facebook page and get the link to buy your tickets in advance for that. And we have some great bands. And again, I forgot my list of bands, but I always remember the Bearded Brothers.
Everybody remembers the Beards. Everybody remembers the
I have
Beards.
to make that list when I go home after the show and stick it on there, because otherwise, by the time the next week rolls around, I have forgotten again. But it should be a really great event during the day. They, again, are going to have a kids zone, and there's going to be raffles and giveaways, and then in the evening we have actually 3 music bands scheduled for the evening, and that's at Gill Dogs down by the water, and it's going to be a long day, but both events I think are going to be really, really awesome.
Yeah, I'm just coming back into town Friday.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you get in late or early?
it depends on what time I'm driving back
Oh.
in. So I'm driving in from Georgia Friday. I'll get home Friday evening and
Turn
drive
around and have
back
to
out.
drive.
Come out Saturday morning. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I'm-
and that's going to be an early one.
Yeah.
So, but they're both going to be really great events to support others in the community. We'll have our information there, so more people can learn about us. And I'm looking forward to it. Even though
Oh
it's
yeah,
gonna be a long day.
because the 2 venues are like amazing. I've been out to Withlacoochee River Park, for a couple other events. Supporting Kim and Parks and Recreation. Very serene, very, if you like nature and those kind of things.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm really looking forward to it because I've never been there.
Oh, you'll love it.
I can't believe it. I mean, I've lived here for over 30 years and I've never been to that park.
And then Gill Dogs down by the river.
Gill Dogs is a nice venue down by the water.
Yes.
So yeah, it's going to be a good day for a lot of people in our community, and the support and people getting together. Right now, it's really needed, really, really bad, really tremendously bad. But it's gonna be good. And then in November, and I'm working on it. We're going to have our last pop-up event, which will be a live auction here from the studio, and that's going to be on November 17th. I'm working on getting the artwork up on the Art for Hope website. But even still in the meantime, as I continue to add that artwork, if you're local, out at the Hilton Garden Inn at the Suncoast in 54, 3 of my artists' artwork is throughout the main floor, and all those pieces are available for Art for Hope. And I'm working on, which we had used in the past, we have these really neat cards that look kind of like our postcard here. Has the artist's name, the title, and the amount. Well, I printed out QR code stickers to stick on them. So when I get them out there, I'm going to get them out there this week, stuck next to the pieces that are out there, and it'll just make it easier. You can just click on that QR code. The information will be there, but you can click on that QR code, and I'll have it set up that if you're interested, you can pay through PayPal. My contact information is there anyways, and you can contact me, and we'll be adding stuff as the time. I was going to bring artwork into the studio, but it's just sometimes so cumbersome because a lot of the pieces are big, and I really hesitate bringing them back and forth a lot. So also, when we get the pieces up on the website, and if you see something that you like and you are local, just get a hold of me and we'll make arrangements. You can come to the office and take a look at the artwork. But I'll be adding pictures, and we'll be able to show the pictures from the studio. I just hesitate having the actual larger pieces of artwork here.
I always worry about, in transport, tripping and falling, landing through the piece. Like, getting this,
The smaller piece like you have isn't really bad. Like last week, I had to deliver two, they would be considered antique music posters, and they were both nearly 40 by 60 inches.
Wow.
And she couldn't fit them in her vehicle, but I had my truck, and I'm like, oh, I can do it, And I'm like, but I do that all the time,
Well, see, I was worried about, the piece that I have, because I took it out of the plastic, and I had it on my piano, the piano, part of the piano where you put your sheet music.
Yeah.
All right, so I had it on, that piano ledge, and I'm looking at it. I really need to get that piece. First thing, I was like, let me get it out of the plastic, because my concern was,
Yeah, you don't
all
want
right,
to keep it in there.
the house is air conditioned. it's cool inside, but all I can think about is, well, it doesn't matter how cool it is. I don't want the piece to sweat.
Well, and it's for like the same reason, and I tell my clients this all the time, especially in the summertime here. If you're picking anything up from me, I ask them, are you going straight home or to your office with this? Because you do not leave it in your car. It is too hot. So what you did was right.
And so, so here, like I said, I've got it sitting on the piano, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, it's on the piano, it's safe. I had to be mindful. I have two 11-year-olds in my house. My grandsons are, and I remember coming home one day, coming out of my room, coming home one day. Listen to me, coming out of my bedroom, and going out to my Florida room, like 8-foot glass windows, and one of the the blind slats was off. How'd that get off? And they were like, oh, we were playing walking, what do they call it? Walking freeze tag in the house. It's where you play freeze tag, but you're walking.
Uh-huh.
An 11-year-old walking through a house.
Well, yeah, right.
And all I could think of was, this piece is going to fall, or somebody's going to punch their fist through it, Couldn't have that. So, yeah. I put Greg to work. Hang that up for me, please.
Well, now it's in a safe spot.
Now it's in a safe spot.
Now it's in a safe spot.
Yeah.
All right, so we got all caught up on all that stuff, I think. It's a busy month this month.
It is. It
It's a
is.
busy month, but it all in a good way. And all these events, remember, well, except for Painting with a Purpose, but we're not going to have as many people. People will be spread out at both venues, or like I said, at home. But the other two events that we're participating in the community, those are all outdoor events. October, hopefully the weather will be a teeny bit cooler.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I hope.
And it is to support a good cause. I mean, I know, we talk about, or we highlight that, this can be a dark and depressing subject, difficult for some people to talk about. At the same time, I think, giving, breathing some life into it, no pun,
Yeah.
I said that differently. But, shedding some light on, this topic, and at the same time doing it in such a way that is more upbeat and uplifting. I think it's important. Let people know, it may seem like the end of the world. It's not. It may be in a natural or unintended way that you wanted to see. It's not something that you wanted, but we still get through. There's still a way to get through it. It's still a process, and the process, you only get through the process with the effort that you put into getting through the process. It's like, yes, unfortunately, the life of our loved one is ended. We're still here, and getting through it, and dealing with it, and getting to some sense of, I have a love-hate relationship with the word normal. but
Well-
coming to some semblance of
Right.
normalcy.
And towards the end of this, we got one more thing to talk about, but at the end of this is, it's titled As You Move On.
Yes, and hopefully we will get to that because I love the quote that goes on with
Yeah,
that.
I do too. So
Yeah.
this one here, and I kind of struggled with this one in a little bit of a way. The chapter is titled Shame, and the quote at the beginning of it is, "Shame is the lie someone told you about yourself." And I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce Anisnin. I probably butchered that. But, and especially in the situation of suicide, I think that hits really hard with a lot of people. And also, probably overdoses and overdose suicides. Maybe, maybe not.
No,
And that's why this is why I struggle with the word shame, because I think there could be a better word used, but I don't know what it is.
I think sometimes, and it, the uniqueness of this partnership that you and I have, is, from from the mental health side of this team that we have going on here, I embrace the word shame. I think it's absolutely fitting,
Yeah.
especially in how she explains it here. Because when you look at, and I was taken aback for a minute when you said overdose deaths, especially if it's an overdose suicide. Because as you know, for me, that one hits home as it relates to Patrick. And part of, for me, where I feel that if we use a suicide that was the result of an overdose, where that shame piece comes in, actually, you know what, it doesn't matter the manner of death.
Right.
Okay, as my brain is processing, like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, because there's other tragic deaths that this falls
Well,
into.
and I mean, I'm, keeping it on suicide for a moment,
Right.
the shame piece comes in that, as the lost survivor, your loved one, your whatever the relationship you had to that person, ended their own life. And so, having to, and I don't mean having, in a forceful kind of way, having those times where, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. How did it happen? And that there, for some people, there is that shame-based piece that comes in. I have to tell this person that my loved one died by suicide.
Well, and I think that's a society thing that
It is.
that is put on us. And I tell you, and I struggled. Well, I didn't really struggle with it, but when Bobby died, probably about half of the people that I knew, which were a lot, I think maybe half of the people knew that he died by suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other half of the people either didn't know or assumed that it was complications from his MS, because most people knew he had MS. And there were some people that, on that side of it, for a long time, I didn't tell them that he died by suicide. And basically it was because of them and their personalities.
Right, because
And-
you hit a nail on a head when you said a lot of this comes from society. And she writes in the book, our sense of shame is developed early in our lives as we learn societal norms that tells us what makes a good person and what makes a bad person. And so when you're looking at, if I come back to, using myself as an example, and that question, that Evan asked, you're in the field. How did
Right.
this happen to you? As if, am I a bad mental health professional because, I lost my grandson and my son? But along with that comes that, and and again, I know I struggled with this. What have I done to deserve this? There must be something wrong with me that I have lost these two people. I must be flawed. Somehow I'm responsible. I'm being punished. And, the only reason why I would be being punished, and I'm going global, mind you, not, I'm not making it totally personal. But the only reason why I would be punished is if I did something to be, wait for it, ashamed of. And so where, for me, again, where I think this whole shame piece is very, very fitting, it makes sense. Because again, it is a, societal. Tammy, you must have been a bad wife. That,
Well, yeah,
you know what I
and,
mean?
or it's like, you know, you, you were with him for 30 years. You couldn't stop this. You didn't know that he was going to take his life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't see the signals. You didn't, how could you let your husband do this?
Or, you know what? I was with him for 30 years. How did I miss that? What did I not see?
Well, yeah, that too. And this, oh yeah, there's just so much. There's so much of that. And it runs in our own family because we have somebody else in our family who attempted and it wasn't talked about. Would us having that knowledge made a difference? Maybe, maybe not. But there had, even when being asked straightforward if this happened and being told no, that says a lot for our society. And it's like, and I've heard this, I've heard it a lot on, being the spouse of losing someone to suicide, and then parents losing their children to suicide. Your innate instinct, your job is to protect them, and you weren't able to protect them from this.
Or you feel like you weren't able to protect them, because I think, and she says in here about shame coming from from being rigid in our thoughts and believing that there was only one course of action, one way to feel, one way to do things. And, when I read that, it got me to thinking how, in our line of work, we talk about this black or white thinking. It's either all black or it's all white. There's no gray in the middle. And I think what happens is when people are either unable or unwilling to see the gray in the middle, herein is where, these negative feelings come up, and so, to your point about being a parent who, has lost a child to suicide, that black or white thinking that comes up is, I'm their parent, I should have saw it. I remember, if I use Kira, for example, and watching, the range of emotions that she went through, and, her saying, he was at the dinner table with us that night, and, I kissed him goodnight. He went to bed, he told me everything was fine. But all the while, of course, this is hindsight being 2020, all the while he knew what he was going to do. And then there's that other, piece of us that tries to rationalize it. And again, it's, a way I feel to, offset some of the shame. Was this an act of attention-seeking behavior that went horribly wrong? And, he had gotten himself in a position where he didn't realize what he was doing, or he wasn't able to call out for help. You know, or did he call out for help and no one heard him? You know, and I know that's, you know, some of the struggles, like, oh my gosh, you know, back to this, you know, rigid black and white thinking, you know, I wasn't able to save him. I wasn't able to do, you know, what I needed to do as a parent to, you know, protect my child's life. You know, now if I fast forward those 6 months, you know, Patrick was an adult, you know, and I still, you know, find myself saying, I tell my kids all the time, I don't care how old you get, I'm still going to be your mom. And, you know, same, like, he was your child for 33 years. You didn't see this, you know, or did you give him too much independence? You know, I'm thinking, you know, then it's that grapple. He was my child. He was an adult. He was 33. When I give him his space, should I have given him his space? Should I have been, you know, shame on me for not, you know, being more, what's the word I want to use, controlling.
Yeah, but like you said, there's no black and white in any of this.
But the problem is,
Yeah.
with shame, it
It
is
is,
black
right.
and white.
Well, that is true. That is true. Yeah, she says here, it's important to identify your shame beliefs and force yourself to reject them. She has a list of self-defeating shaming beliefs. And the one that I highlighted here is read through your list of grievers' rights.
Yeah, because she, you know, and I like how she says that, where did I see it? Some of the hardest shame beliefs that we try to overcome are the ones that we don't want to face or we don't want to acknowledge, you know, or we don't want to tell somebody else. And a lot of it is
Right.
because, you know, again, I don't want to feel any more flawed than what I think I already am. My favorite one, or one of my favorite ones, was identify the things you do that make you a good person. Look in the mirror and tell yourself these things when you are feeling ashamed. I like that one specifically because there's a lesson that I do with people, you know, about, you know, self-image, you know, how we view ourselves. And, you know, I jokingly tell them, you know, I have this huge mirror in my bathroom. And, you know, as I'm looking at that one, I was like, well, that one just resonates with me because I think about every morning when I go in the bathroom, I have to see myself in this mirror that, like, takes up an entire wall. And, you know, being able to stop, you know, kind of my joke is I'm pudgy, you know, and it's like I could be, you know, if I, you know, take it off, death and suicide for a minute. But I jokingly, I don't like jokingly, but I look at people and I use that example. Okay, I'm pudgy. I know I'm pudgy, you know. And I look at this mirror and I'm like, oh, wow, you're really pudgy. But what do I do with that reality? That, all right, guys, I'm pudgy. And I look at him, I was like, oh my gosh, this camera's put another 10 pounds on me. And, you know, like, yeah, not been pudgy like this before. Like, but at the same time, it's like, I have other people, you know, look at me. I was like, don't ever say that. You know, don't do that to yourself. Don't say that to yourself. You are, and, you know, give you like another alternative viewpoint of how others see you, rather than how you see yourself. You know, at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm okay. You know, it's a facade sometimes. I'm okay being pudgy, when I was like, no, I'm not. And it's the same thing with grief. I'm okay. In my head, no,
But
I'm not.
no.
No, I'm not. And so, again, being able to either metaphorically or realistically looking yourself in the mirror and seeing, you know, those aspects of you that make you a good person. You know, I'm pudgy, but I'm fun to be around. Say.
Yes, that's it.
Recognize your accomplishments. You know, you with the foundation.
I know that's still a hard one for me. thankfully my friends and, people in the community, they help me out with that a lot because I think in the back of my head, or in my head anywhere, I know that we've done a lot, but I always feel that, we've only been around 3 years. And it's a tough subject to deal with. And it's a tough subject if you're not living it, but it's amplified if you are. And so, yeah, people remind me because I always think that we should be like where in 3 years where we'll probably be in 10 years. And maybe even not that long, you just don't know. But I know that it's happening within a reasonable period of time. Otherwise, my friends would have locked me up in the loony bin by now, But and we make strides. I know that every little step is a stride forward, and even if you're not doing what I'm doing or what we're doing here, there's things throughout your day that you can use the same way. Even if it is just getting your laundry done or emptying the dishwasher. I mean, seriously, little simple things like that. This weekend, for me, which I probably should have been working on other stuff, but I went to an art show. It wasn't a total art show. It was an outdoor festival down in Safety Harbor. And I haven't been to one of those since before Bobby passed away. And we went down there partly to give flyers to Kim from 9 Round and to see about recruiting artists for next year. And so I gave myself permission. I was like, okay, you can spend this much money on a piece of art. And this is the first thing that Bobby and I did when we first got together. And I know what the 2 pieces are. We still have them. And I thought, this is what you're going to do. Well, we have a collection of dragons, like pewter dragons. And one of the pieces of artwork is a stained glass and wood dragon flying with on a hilltop with a castle. So I thought, well, let me see if I can find, a pewter dragon or, something dragony to go with that collection. One of the first things that we bought. So I go down there and I'm walking and I see this guy. He has not a dragon, but he had a dragonfly. And it's metal and glass. So I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, let me keep looking. And of course, Kim was all the way at the other end of the festival. And so I didn't find anything else. And that dragonfly was just stuck in my head the whole entire time. So on my way out, I purchased that dragonfly.
And I saw the picture that you posted of it. It's beautiful.
It's really nice. And at first I was going to put it on the front of the house, but I still have to paint the house. So the cottage where the gallery is, I was going to put cottage gallery / studio, whatever it is. And so I put it on the side of it, which is in between the house and the cottage, and I go out that side door like a million times. So whether I'm walking 30 feet to work or just going outside, it's right there and I see it, and it looks really nice there. So, and then I came home and I totally ripped apart my living room and was up until like midnight doing a deep cleaning in my living room, putting up new curtains. And it's just like, and sometimes things like that are really super difficult, especially if you're making little changes. But I tell you, the little changes are way easier than doing the big changes at once. So even just the little change was changing out these sheer curtains behind the sofa. And because my cats used them as climbing devices for the old ones. So I got these new ones and they look really nice. And, at the end of the evening, and it was really super late, I just looked at it and it was like, wow, I did that. And it doesn't even have to be, something that big. Like I said, just doing a load of laundry or emptying your dishwasher, you know, cleaning a floor in one room.
For me, it's my garage. You know, my my neighbor, my best friend, you know, his name is Craig. You know, he'll drive by and he'll look at us like, "I see your garage doors open." Yeah, but he said something to me, you know, a couple of weekends ago that was very profound, where he said, "Your garage um, is your garage is the chaos in your life that keeps you grounded." And, you know, I had to think about it for a moment, like what he meant, you know, and to your point, accomplishing that one little thing. It's like, you know, I remember, you know, like after, you know, like, you know, before Patrick left, it was our, you know, let's do this project together, clean the garage and then destroy the garage, clean the garage and then destroy the garage. But I find myself like, oh, I can see the garage floor now. And, you know, I find myself like congratulating myself, you know, or feeling proud of myself that I could still see the garage floor. You know, I pull, you know, one of my cars in the garage, you know, the buttons are good, you know, like my bike is in there. I was like, I can actually see the bike is not hidden by, you know, a bunch of stuff in the garage anymore. And you're right, having that sense of accomplishment.
And saying that to yourself, you know, look what I did.
Exactly.
And actually, I say it to myself, but I say it to Bobby too.
No, you know, I find myself saying, you know, if only you were here to see this, if only you were to see that, you know, hey, dude, I cleaned the garage and it's been clean longer than a week, you know, which, you know, this last bullet point, and again, there's, you know, several that she has in here, but which brings me to that last bullet point being, you know, the ability to laugh at yourself. And, you know, there were times where, you know, I find myself, you know, like the garage is clean and it's been clean for a month, laugh, like, you know, chuckle, chuckle. Or his other thing that he used to pick at me was, you know, I would always have either paperwork, you know, on my laptop or laundry on my bed. And he'd come in and he'd be like, Mom, your bed's a mess again. You know, and I would look at him and say, well, son, I'm single. You know, I just need this piece to sleep on. And, you know, paperwork and laundry can be on the other side. And, you know, so I'd clean off my bed and I'd come in and like, hey, Pat, come here and look. And, you know, he's like, let's see how long it's going to stay clean. You know, and we'd do like these little side bets, like, I'll bet you $10 by next week it's going to be messy again. But even, you know, chuckling at myself now, I was like, wow, my bed has been, you know, like I haven't had paperwork or laundry on my bed, you know, for a couple of weeks now, you know. And I'm like, ha ha, look what I did. And you're not here to see it. You know, I kind of wish you were, but, you know, haha, laugh, laugh, you're not here to see it.
Right.
Or, you know, you're not going to be haunting me because my bed's a mess again. But, you know, shame is, you know, again, it's interesting dynamic when it comes to dealing with grief and loss. And, you know, understanding that other people are going to look at and process this differently. You know, and, you know, what she says here in terms of, you know, we already have our own shame beliefs, and we do not need to add ourselves to the beliefs of others. You know, again, this is our journey or your journey. It's an individual journey. And the only way that you're going to overcome it is to kind of step back and really examine this negative self-image that you have about yourself and, you know, revamp it, you know, change it.
Change your self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Change your self-talk to more positivity. And it's a good thing that, you know, that I liked about this book is she has so many areas for you to journal in. And even at the end of this one here, there's a page for you to journal in. What do you need right now? It might be something emotional you need to move forward in your grief, or perhaps a new way of thinking, a concrete object, or a personal wish.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third part of this is journaling through grief, and it is she poses a question on each page. This is what's going through my head today, and you have a page to write it on. Sometimes I feel so alone. I feel that way today because, and this is a good release, and it's something that you can come back to a month, 6 months, a year later, and read this and see where you're at. See, it might be a way to see how your journey is moving forward, and not question whether or not I'm getting through this or it's getting a little bit better to live with. Not per se that it is getting better, you're learning how to live with it better. And of course, we didn't get to the end. I have next week, I found a really great website. I think it's called What is Grief? And the girls have a podcast. They're in the field, in the mental health field. And so we'll bring that information to you next week. We got a little clip it from their website too. And it is a reference and a recommendation in this book, which we had some really great recommendations and references. So remember, put those numbers in your phone, and remember, there's always hope.